Hey everybody, welcome to today's webinar, and we are going over the CloudCard photo downloader today. My name is Tony Erskine. I'm the product owner of CloudCard Online Photo Submission, and this is the second video that we've done on CloudCard photo downloader. It's changed somewhat in recent months, and we wanted to really update the video documentation so that it can be just as clear and as up to date as possible. So, with no further ado, let me tell you a little bit about the CloudCard photo downloader. First off, it is an open source project that is published on GitHub. If you haven't ever been to GitHub, it's kind of like a social media site, for software developers, or it's where we share our open source software projects. So if you go to, the link will be in the description, but GitHub.com, online photo submission / CloudCard photo downloader, then that will take you to this page. And if you scroll down, you'll get to the Readme section. In the Readme section, it walks you through how to actually install the application. If you prefer just to read, you can go through those instructions. These same instructions there. There's this link right here is the old documentation, so I will be replacing it after this video with this new video documentation. But let's jump right in. The idea is we're just going to kind of walk through these steps. It's a pretty quick process, and so let's dive right in. Okay. First off, the requirements. Really, Java 1.8. If you're running Java 1.6 or 1.7, you really should update. It is possible to do this with Java 1.6, but I don't recommend it. Just update to 1.8, and it should run fine on 1.8 or any later version of Java. You'll need Office level access at least to download the photos. Excuse me. And you'll need a separate service account. So let's actually get through, and that's the first step in the actual usage and installation of CloudCard photo downloader. So the first thing is to create a separate service account for the CloudCard photo downloader. The instructions are included in another video that's linked here and should be linked in the description of this video. So you just click on that, follow those instructions. It walks you through how to create a service account. Then you need to download the jar file. Just click that link and let it download. Now this is going to warn you that this is an application. It's kind of like an exe. It's a program. So you really shouldn't download programs from people that you don't trust. But since you trust us, then this is a safe application to run. Next, we want to download the application.properties file and put it into the same directory. I'll open that in a fresh tab. All right, and I'm going to save that. So when I click that, it just opens the raw file. I just save that, by hitting Control S or Command S. One thing that it wants to do here is it wants to add this .txt to the end. If you forget, you can just rename it once you download it, but just remove that and then save it, and it will save to the correct location. One thing though, when I downloaded to my downloads folder. So let me pull that over here. It looks like I've downloaded this more than once, so let me get the name right. There we go. Okay, so there's my jar file downloaded. Okay, so the jar file is there. The application properties file is there. And continuing on to the next step, get your access token. Okay, so you may already have an access token. If you've done that, then you can just skip this step. If not, you'll need to download for Linux gettoken.sh or for Windows gettoken.ps1. So I'm using a Mac right now, so I will use gettoken.sh, and I'll just save this again to the same folder. All right. Now, if necessary, make the getToken script executable. I'm not sure if that's absolutely required on Windows, but I do know that you need to do that on Linux-based systems. So I'll just paste that command in there, and it makes that executable. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run the command. Again, now these are Linux commands. The Windows commands should be very similar. I just don't have a Windows box to demonstrate on right at the moment. So get token.sh. It asks you which API are you connecting to. Just accept the default unless you know that you're connecting to the test API. But just hit enter to accept the default there. Put in your username, downloader@test.edu, and the password. All right, and then it gives me this output here. That is my access token, and I'm going to need that in the next step. So don't forget that, or don't close that window, or if you do, save that off to a file. So my next step is to configure the application.properties file. So I've got it right here. You can open it in Notepad or TextEdit, whatever your default editor is. I'm going to go ahead and open it in TextMate, which is very similar to TextEdit. It just gives me some slightly different highlighting that's a little easier to see in the video. Okay, so one of the nice things about this properties file, we include all the properties by default. Okay, but you don't necessarily need to. You can get rid of the ones that you don't need to change. Okay. For instance, we will be using the default API URL, so we'll just get rid of that. Okay, that lets me know, like, hey, I didn't set that specifically. You can leave it in there; it's not going to hurt anything. But I just like to get rid of them to keep things clean. So there's the access token, right? Then there's nothing set for that, and that's where we need that access token that we just created right here. Okay, so I'm just going to copy that and paste it up here where the access token is. All right. Okay, and then the downloader delay in milliseconds. Okay, I'm just going to accept the default there, which is 10 minutes. I give you some handy conversions here. Here's the value for 10 minutes. Here's the value for 5 minutes. Here's the value for 1 minute. You really shouldn't set it any less than 1 minute. But I'm just going to leave it at the default of 10 minutes, so I'll just delete that. The absolute path that the photos should be put in. So I'm just going to put, if you leave it at the default, it'll just drop them in the same folder, the exact same folder that you're running in. I'm going to put do it in a folder called Photos, if I can spell it correctly. There we go. Okay, Photos. Now then, the next big chunk of settings. And I really should actually be showing you the GitHub. Whoops, that. Here we go. Really should be showing you these as we go along. So I showed you the instructions are in here, like on the README for the API settings. We talked through the API URL and the access token. We're going to get to these in a second. They're down towards the bottom of the page. Okay. The general delay in milliseconds, we talked through that. We just set it to 10 minutes. And the photo directories, you can actually use multiple directories if you want. Okay, just separate them with commas. So if you want to save it to lots of different folders, you can do that. But then it gets to the UDF settings. Now UDF is an old format that was used with Seaboard Odyssey, it can still be used. It's supported, but it's deprecated right now. There are better ways to do it, and we can help walk you through that. So all of these settings that I've got highlighted over here are really those Seaboard settings, and we're just going to get rid of those. So we'll drop those out. And one thing I will do, if you notice this download enable UDF true, I'm going to leave that turned on. That's the default because it gives you a nice, it creates that UDF file even though you don't need it. It is a nice thing to have. I like it because every time the downloader runs, it will create that file and it gives you kind of an audit log of all the photos that have been downloaded. So I like to have that turned on. If you don't want to, you just change enable UDF to false down at the bottom there. Okay. And then our next set of settings are the CSV settings. CSV is in production in development right now. So these settings, you can leave them in there. but they're not supported yet. So for purposes of clarity, I'm simply going to delete those right now. And that leaves us with the fetch status and the put status, or fetch statuses and put status. So the fetch statuses, what you can do is you can actually specify one or more photo statuses to be downloaded. So the default is that photos that are marked as they're in the status of ready for download, those will be downloaded. But you could say, hey, I want to download any photo that is marked as ready for download, or any photo that's marked as approved, right? You could do that. You could download denied photos. It really, anything you want, because this is designed to enable you to extend the CloudCard workflow into your own system, okay? And then you can also have a put status, right? So you can set the excuse me, the photos to what, after I've downloaded them, what should I set the photo to? And the default there is downloaded, okay? There are, ways that you can set different statuses so that you could actually have a chain of photo downloaders that are pulling the photos down and marking their statuses. You can do all sorts of different things with this, but the defaults of ready for download and downloaded work just great. So we're just going to leave those there, leave those alone. So really all I did was add my access token and specify my photo directory. And even the photo directory was not really required. Okay, I just like to put them in a separate directory. But if you're okay with them going into this same directory, then that works just fine. So I'm going to save this file, and I am going to close it. And then I'm going to go over here to run this. And oh, actually, first I need to go into CloudCard and make sure that I've got some photos that are ready to be downloaded. So so here I am in CloudCard. There's a couple of 3 photos here that are pending, and I'm just going to go ahead and approve them. 1, 2, 3. So I've got 3 photos. They're all approved now. Now, if you when we were setting those download statuses, these photos are currently in the approved status. If you just want to download them as soon as somebody hits approved, you can skip this step that I'm getting ready to do, which is to one last scan of the photos and then click download photos. So you can actually download the approved photos and then mark those as downloaded. There are some schools that prefer that. I like to do the one last pass look through, and then we'll mark them as we'll click download. That marks them as ready for download. And now we can go over to our downloader. And let me just move that off to the side here. Now we can go over to our downloader, and we're going to run it. And the command for running the downloader, let's go back to our instructions here. All right, so we finished step 5 of configuring the application.properties file. And we do have photos that are ready to be downloaded. So here's our command for running the downloader. Now, once you run this, the downloader will continue to run every 10 minutes or every 5 minutes, or however often you set it. It will continue to run. So if you, in most situations, you'll want to set this in the startup folder, or just as a Windows service, or as a Linux service, so that it gets run when the server starts up. But that's sort of outside the scope of this this video. But there are tons of videos for how do I start a Java process as soon as my server starts. Sorry about that. Just calendar reminders. So anyway, but as soon as this runs, it will continue to run. So you don't need to schedule it. You just need to run it when your server starts. And so I'm going to go ahead and run that. So the application is starting up. I'll just make this bigger so we can see it better. All right, it gives us some debug output. We really don't even need to pay any attention to that. It does let us know periodically when it runs, hey, I completed downloading 3 photos. Or if there were none, it would say completed downloading 0 photos. So let's move that off to the side here, and let's take a look. Here's our photos directory. If you'll notice, I didn't need to create that directory. That directory was created by the photo downloader. And it's got, if I go into that directory, it's got those 3 photos in there, and they're all numbered, all named with ID number.jpg. And this is the most ubiquitous, file import, sort of standard or strategy. So I mean, there's so many. Bank Mobile supports this. CS Gold supports this. Seaboard Odyssey supports this. So many others support. Here's a folder full of photos named ID number.jpg. However, if you need to have your photos put into a relational database or something like that, CloudCard Photo Downloader will support that and can put your photos into a relational database and on the file system, or into the or just into the database, whatever you want. It's that's a little outside of the scope of this video, but if that's something that you're looking for, let us know, and we can record another video explaining how to do that, or just kind of walk you through it. Okay, so jumping back over here to the last thing I want to show you guys here is the UDF file that was created. Like I said, the UDF files are just kind of artifacts of another era, but they are handy in that it does show me all the photos that were downloaded. It gives me their ID numbers of the person that the photo was downloaded for. So it's just a nice audit log. So if that's something that's handy for you, great. If it's not, you can just set enable UDF to false, and that will work. Excuse me. All right, with that said, the last thing that I want to mention is that this application, if you just found it here, is and just downloaded it and you're installing it yourself, it is distributed with no warranty. It's as is. It's an open source project. Okay. However, if you sign up for our A+ plan, then we fully support it. We'll install it for you, or we'll walk you through the installation if that's easier. Sometimes we can't get getting access is not as easy as just jumping on a screen share and walking you through doing the installation. So if you're using our A+ plan, then we'll handle all the support and everything for you. And there are other resellers that do very similar things, like Vision Database System puts out a product called Cloud Photo Connect, which does a very similar thing, actually a whole lot more. And it's a product that you can purchase from them. So you get a fully supported, this functionality, but fully supported and a lot more. So anyhow, hope that was really helpful for you guys today. I know it was kind of fast. So if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to support@onlinephotosubmission.com. And especially if you're one of our A+ plan members, we definitely don't want you to ever be frustrated throughout this process. So you guys have a great day, and thanks for your time and attention.